Thanks, of course, to Sony Ericsson, Intel, and G-Skill for making all of this possible. You guys are awesome, and who else is awesome? Why, this Terran player.
I am MVP.
Probably going to see a little bit more standard out of him this time.
Yeah.
Although,
so.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him scout a lot, check for extra barracks lying around. Here's his opponent, winning game 1 by having the better cheese.
GanZI.
By the way, for those of you that are kind of new to watching professional StarCraft, cheese is an old term that has become kind of a standard term. It means to do something, you know, cheesy. It's do something kind of quick, kind of a quick rush instead of playing a normal build. It's usually designed to just hit home with one attack.
Right.
And catch someone off guard.
And if
with
the cheese
with
fails, it's almost always a loss for that player.
Yeah.
There's no recovering. It's a strategy that's more all-in than an all-in, if you will. Well, by the looks of things, GanZI is going to be going for Command Center first here. He actually has not started the barracks. He hasn't sent any SCVs out.
Wow, this could pay off well because I think MVP is probably thinking about one Rax expansion. He has not put down gas. So this could work out really well for GanZI, actually. And there's the Command Center, making it inside his base, not down at his expansion, so he can still try and wall off and be defended. And that's the thing, is MVP is not scouted yet. If he scouts the wrong direction first, then GanZI will definitely get away with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the looks of things, like you're saying, MVP is going to be going for a one barracks expand. It's possible that he adds some more barracks, does something like what we saw last game, but it's going to be very unlikely. And right now he is moving his SCV over to make a command center, so the better build order definitely going to GanZI here.
Yep.
And we may be in for a long game.
We might indeed. This is definitely going to be a macro game. And GanZI is going to get away with it. Wait, MVP, what is his scout doing?
Checking the watchtower.
Oh, that's what he's doing. He's doing what I thought. He was scouting around for proxy barracks of some kind, and that's why he went up to the north. But for some reason, he changed his mind and decided to go to the south. I'm not sure why he decided to scout down there first, but he's not going to be able to get in, though. And the barracks finishes.
He will, however, know that this is going on because he's going to go up here. He's going to see no Marine. No Marine. Obviously, something is not right. Obviously, there's a command center there. You know, the other possibility would be that like another Marine was out around the map, but that's very unlikely. This SCV for GanZI is trying to go and scout MVP, but he will be denied by these Marines.
Denied. And yeah, so GanZI at the same time doesn't know what MVP is doing either. So putting that Marine over there in the smoke so that if a Reaper comes in, he can get a couple shots off on the Reaper before it was able to get into his base.
Yeah. And Factory's going up for GanZI. Going up for MVP as well. MVP took his double gas immediately after the command center. GanZI, of course, is a very similar timing himself. He's taking his second gas right now. Only took the first gas before. Making a bunker at the top of his ramp now. And actually moving his command center now much earlier than MVP. And this is unfortunate for MVP. He just does not know what his opponent is doing very well. And I mean, even if he did, he wouldn't really be able to pressure very easily. Now he sees the bunker. Now he's absolutely sure what's going on.
Yeah. If it wasn't an expand build by GanZI, then it would be MVP's like, all right, well, if this isn't an expansion build, then GanZI is playing the best mind games ever. You know, it's possible he could have hidden extra barracks and hidden all of his Marines and pretended like he was expanding, but not very likely, especially after game 1 being kind of cheesy.
Well, MVP, even if he wanted to move his command center down earlier, it just wasn't finished. Because, of course, his opponent went for a command center first. It's always going to be before a one barracks expand. That's just how it works.
It's funny how that works, where if you start building something before your opponent, it finishes building before them,
it's just a little bit weird how that happens sometimes.
And GanZI is actually switching up into Blue Flame Hellions to follow this up. Very interesting. Whereas MVP appears to be going for Banshees. The scan goes down. He sees the tech lab researching in GanZi's base, so he kind of knows what's up, and Banshees are actually going to be very good against Hellions.
Of course, yeah, and GanZi is a very low Marine count right now. In fact, he's lifted his barracks.
Yeah, that too.
So moving on to low ground, he's missing a little bit of Marine production right now. But he is making a reactor on his starport. Cloak being researched for MVP. But, you know, when that reactor finishes, he's going to have 2 Vikings up very quickly. And the first Banshee might be able to do a little bit of damage, but after that, it's not going to be a whole lot those Banshees can do.
Yeah, he's going to be able to make double Vikings and respond to this. He did scan MVP's base and saw the factory with the tech lab and the starport, so he's probably going to save scans just in case it is Banshees.
Oh, and
wait.
Interestingly, he actually has lifted.
Oh, wow.
He's actually made a second factory. He's going to be using that for Hellion production. And he actually continues to change his mind as he moves more buildings around. He's playing musical chairs with his add-ons.
He must have seen that Banshee or been further tipped off to this Banshee build because he switched it back so he could build more Vikings instead.
Ooh, he shows the blue flame. He took out a Hellion of MVP in the middle of the map. Showed his blue flame. Now these first Banshees are starting to come out here. The first Banshee going to fly into the main. And 2 Vikings are in production. These Marines are going to try to ward off that Banshee. Right now, he actually does have enough energy for a scan. Almost enough for 3 scans. 2 scans nearly ready. He's actually just poking away at that depot. The engineering bay, or excuse me, the turret is on its way. Scan goes off. Will he get it? Nope.
Oh, not quite. Not quite. And he's going to chase that Banshee in case it runs out of energy, but can't quite keep up with it, or decides to go back in case of a second Banshee. And you notice, by the way, MVP didn't cloak that Banshee until the last possible moment it was necessary. Very, very Gosu of him.
Gosu indeed. And right now, both players having 2 factories. MVP opting to produce 1 tank and 1 Hellion at a time. His siege mode is finishing here, whereas GanZI, on the other hand, has not even started siege mode, is just producing only Hellions at the moment. It's going to start switching over to siege tank production very soon. In fact, starting it right now. The worker count is dead even at 46. 4 Vikings, though, are out for GanZI, whereas MVP has 2 Banshees, and Vikings will become more and more important as both these players transition into pure mech. 3rd Command Center going for MVP pretty quickly here, but I like that because he knows he has the tanks first. With his Banshees, he was able to see that. Now he knows, okay, I've got more siege tanks than you. I started siege mode first. I have siege mode and you won't, so I can take a 3rd right now.
Yeah, he's definitely got more control of the game at this moment, despite not having blue flame. He is a little bit behind in the Vikings as well. Ooh, trying to catch that Banshee. Gets a volley off, forces it to cloak.
Yeah, he's always going to be behind in Vikings so long as GanZI continues to produce. But he has produced his own out of a reactor, and GanZI has not been producing Vikings, so he's actually tied it up now.
And actually, GanZI just moved the reactor off of his starport onto his factory, so he's actually going to fall behind in the Viking count now.
And of course, for those of you guys who are not very used to StarCraft 2 or a little bit newer or not used to mech style, Vikings are very important because if you have air control, your siege tanks have more vision, and also you can use Banshees to target down siege tanks if you can keep your opponent's Vikings at bay. So it's really important to have that air control. And the only reason you need Vikings is to kill your opponent's Vikings, but that's very important, of course.
Yeah, but as long as you have 1 more Viking than your opponent, then you have the vision advantage.
Absolutely.
That's basically what it comes down to.
Otherwise, your opponent has to use scans, and that's 270 minerals per scan. You don't want to do that. Yeah,
I remember, I'm not sure why we haven't seen this out of GanZI more, actually, but I remember in Code A, in the semifinals and finals, he had this really, really effective strategy that he was using where he would siege up just outside of siege range of the opponent's tanks. So neither tank could hit each other with scans or anything like that, and then he would put a Banshee just in front of his tanks to attack the opponent's tanks. So if Marines ran in to kill his Banshee, his tanks would automatically shell it. And his Banshees could take out enemy tanks, and he gained such an advantage. He beat Marine King very handily in a couple of games by using that strategy. But GanZI hasn't been doing that this season, so I'm a little puzzled by that. I wonder if MVP might do the same thing.
You may see that. A scan goes off here. Hellions are actually targeting down siege tanks on the high ground, and GanZI's in a pretty good position here. He has a decent amount of units, but the Hellions of MVP doing a lot of damage. These Vikings are landed to avoid the enemy Vikings. They actually lived for some reason. A terrible choice by GanZI. Wanted to retreat them, I suppose, but could have done a lot more damage here, but MVP defends this quite handily. Is now chasing down these units. He may even land his Vikings in pursuit here to try to cut off because he just has such a superior unit force now.
Yeah, GanZI did not expect MVP to have that many Vikings.
And he actually lands and catches some siege tanks here.
Oh, here he goes. Oh, the Vikings landing on their own, and actually landed Vikings are pretty good against Hellions, not against tanks though.
Now the tables have turned, and MVP is the one on the attack, the one who's going to have a siege up. He's got a 3rd base up, and GanZI is worlds behind.
Yes, he is. He is shipyards behind at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
MVP using that vision advantage to try and shell the buildings inside GanZI's base.
Factory is starting to take a lot of damage, and if you have control of the ramp, very difficult for your opponent to move out and do anything. So MVP's got a third base. It's up and running. It's getting his double gases there. He can actually take a fourth base right now as well. He's up 40 supply. Even using a Viking for some extra DPS. Here we go. The ramp, like I said, is under control of MVP, but it looks like GanZi's going to try to break it.
Oh, and there's just too many Hellions from behind for MVP, though. The Vikings protecting the Banshees, raining down damage, and GanZi GG's and leaves the game. MVP takes game number 2.
What happened in this case was MVP moved a huge Viking force down towards GanZi's base to try to just show him, hey, I've got a huge Viking force, but GanZi didn't see those Vikings.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, I got this.
Yeah, no,
and then the Vikings showed up, and that's when things got a little bit hairy.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly what happened. I think GanZi just didn't know that MVP had gone into reactor Viking production, so he didn't actually realize how overpowered he was in the air there. And that was pretty unfortunate for GanZi. He was not able to really exact his strategy there. His attack failed since he didn't have the air control. And also, I didn't see exactly what happened, but for some reason, GanZi lost a lot of his Hellions. Maybe there was some better target firing or some better clumping or something like that. But so MVP takes game number 2, and we have a tie series at 1-1 now.
Yeah, and you know, that second game was much more textbook, and we saw that MVP just made the better decisions there. And if this continues, of course, GanZi's going to be in trouble.
Yep. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Do not go anywhere. This series is heating up. It's going to be even hotter after the break. Come back in a few for game number 3.